Well, the mainstream media strikes again. There was an article that appeared in yesterday's U.S. News and World Report's July 13th edition. You can read it online. I'll leave the link in the description here. And the headline is, "The United States is not alone in wondering if we are alone." They're surprised at this. They're surprised that the rest of the world is interested in UFOs too. Think about that. That's a big deal here. They're just figuring this out. This has been going on for 75 years. You know, people have been seeing these things for years. And Elliot Davis, the reporter at U.S. News and World Reports, and I'm assuming all the editors there who told him to do this article, they're just figuring this out. They just figured this out, that the whole world's interested in this, and they felt it necessary to do an article about that. Think about that. Think about that. That's where the mainstream media is right now. Isn't that something else? Anyway, the subhead here. It says, on the heels of a United States government report about sightings by military pilots that cannot be fully explained, experts say America is not the only country fascinated by UFOs. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What do you think of that? Hey, the whole world, who would have known that? I don't think I ever would have guessed. I never would have guessed that the whole world is interested in this subject. They're really curious about, what's going on. Boy, wow, I'm shocked. Anyway, let's get into this brilliant article a little bit. We're not going to read it. It's pretty long. I'm not going to read the whole thing. If you want to read it, like I said, I'll leave a link in the description below. Okay. The truth is out there. So says an event description for a rally that was reportedly planned to be held outside the White House on July 2nd. The event, which was later reported as a bust by Nexstar Media Group, nevertheless was supposed to protest the secrecy regarding extraterrestrial life. Just a week prior, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence released an unclassified report about unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAP, the government's official term for what is more commonly referred to as unidentified flying objects, or UFOs. With countless documentaries, books, movies, TV shows, and more recently, legitimate reporting they have highlighted. And when you click on it, guess where it leads you? The New York Times. Okay. So if you saw something on TV, if you read a book that somebody spent years researching about UFOs, right? All that's illegitimate. But this little piece of garbage article that they send you to when you clicked on this link in the New York Times, that's legitimate reporting, folks. Anyway, let's read this sentence again. It's just incredible. With countless documentaries, books, movies, TV shows, and more recently, legitimate reporting about UFOs, okay, the possibility of extraterrestrial life has captured the imagination of Americans for decades, even if it has been stigmatized. In recent years, following the release of official military videos featuring strange objects in the sky, this obsession reached the mainstream and spurred Congress to order intelligence officials to report back on these sightings. But experts say this hyper interest in UFOs and what might be out there is not just an American phenomenon, that it is truly more global in nature, from Europe to China, from Russia to Australia. Public interest in UFOs is very real, observers say. Imagine that. Did you know that? Did you realize that the whole rest of the world, not just the United States, they're interested in this everywhere? Everywhere. I can't believe it. It's unbelievable. I can't believe this article is incredible. You know I'm being sarcastic. Anyway, then it goes on and talks about this guy's... I'm not going to get into the rest of this article. It's about, basically they give you some statistics on how many people, what's the percentage of people in these different countries that believe have an interest in UFOs. Who cares what the fact is that the whole world The whole world. We all always knew this. This isn't news. This is new. This is U.S. News and World Reports. That's what this outlet is called. I mean, they're just figuring this out. Of course, as you scroll through this article, they can't help themselves. The mainstream media, they just can't help themselves. They have to throw in something from Neil deGrasse Tyson, the renowned astrophysicist, because that guy seems to know everything about aliens and flying saucers. Again, I'm being sarcastic. Again, why? Why is this guy always carted out for these when obviously he's never read a book on this subject in his life. He has no idea what's going on. None. He's just coming out and just, it's like pulling some dude off the street and say, hey, what do you think about UFOs? I think they're fake. And then, okay, thanks a lot for you. That's the same thing what they're doing here. There's some guy who didn't do any research at all on this subject. Obviously, the guy knows everything about everything there is about the stars in the universe. Well, not everything, but he knows a lot more than most, and he's very entertaining to listen to. But obviously, he doesn't know anything when it comes to extraterrestrials or flying saucers or UFO reports. Or he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know what's going on. In fact, they pulled a quote out of here. He was on CNN over the weekend, and oh my God. Okay, let's read this. Let's read the quote that they included in this article. Before it gets to the quote, I'll read this paragraph. So while 143 of the 144 sightings studied by the government remain unexplained, according to the report released on June 25th, they are still not classified as being out of this world. In fact, the report does not use the words alien or extraterrestrial once. That's not a surprise. Of course, I knew they weren't going to use those words in this report. A lot of people who study this subject knew that. They're going to continue to treat people like stupid idiots. Okay, but then they go to Neil deGrasse Tyson. So I don't know what they are, said Neil deGrasse Tyson, the renowned astrophysicist, during a Sunday television appearance on CNN's Fareed Zakaria GPS. If I were a betting man, I'd say maybe it's a glitch in the software or the hardware. Anytime you have some new modern fancy anything, there are glitches in it. So I'm just saying that, and it could be aliens, but that is insufficient evidence to convince me. Okay, Mr. Smarty Pants here, Neil deGrasse Tyson, thinks now he's throwing out, if he's a betting man, he's gonna say he believes that there's a glitch in the software, maybe. That's so the video that was taken through the gun cameras of these planes was a glitch. But he fails. It doesn't mention that, some of these guys saw these things with their own eyeballs. Eyeballs, Was there a glitch in their eyeballs? Maybe too, Neil. Again, this guy just makes crap up on the fly. He's a totally inappropriate source when it comes to UFO information. He just doesn't know. He's never read a book in his life. I ask you, okay, I have a book sitting right here. I have this is UFOs and the National Security State Volume 2 by Richard M. Dolan. Did you ever read this book, Neil? Neil, did you read this book? How about Volume 1? Have you read any book about UFOs? Any serious research? Have you researched this? Anything on this? Did you ever do any serious research on the topic of UFOs and extraterrestrials or anything like that? Did you ever really look into this, or you just get all your information off the X-Files? Because if I was a betting man, right? I would bet you Neil deGrasse Tyson hasn't read any of these books. He hasn't studied this. He hasn't studied one thing about this. He's never read anything about Roswell. Here, I got another book here for you, Neil. You ever read Roswell, The Ultimate Cold Case Closed by Thomas Carey and Donald Schmidt? Did you ever read that? It tells you, they interviewed hundreds of witnesses over 30 years. Okay? It tells a really incredible story, but a true one. It's a true story. There was a cover-up. It wasn't a mogul balloon that landed in Roswell, Neil. Do you hear me? Wake up, Neil. Do some research. In fact, why don't you just not even go on? When they ask you to go on, is it just to plug a book? You're just using the opportunity to plug a book? I mean, because that's what it seems like you're doing. Why don't you just tell them, hey, I'm no expert. I'm an astronomer. I never looked at this stuff. I never studied. You never studied UFOs. Why don't they? Why doesn't the mainstream press bring on some real UFO researchers, people who've studied this for a long time? What's wrong with bringing in Richard Dolan? Bring him on. That guy's studied this for decades, written books about it. Okay, why don't you bring people in like that? Neil doesn't know what he's talking about. He's obviously not studied this. He's just making stuff up on the fly. If he's a betting man, if I were a betting man, this is his direct quote again. If I were a betting person, I'd say maybe it's a glitch in the software or the hardware. Are you kidding me? So and not only that, but he's putting all his eggs in one basket, in the basket of what the Pentagon has agreed to say. Yeah, we don't know what it is. He forgets about all the other evidence that's been collected over the years by regular people. I guess all those regular people, Neil, are a bunch of liars. Every single person, all those hundreds, thousands of people who claim to see actual extraterrestrials, get abducted by them. Right? Every single one of them, Neil, I guess they're liars, right? They're all lying. Okay. There was no physical trace evidence that was ever discovered at any of these. Where some of these things were all that information that someone like Ted Phillips studied all those years. I guess he made it all up. All those soil samples that he took that showed that there was a difference between the earth that was the soil that was. Where that was discovered where the craft landed next to this compared to the soil where it wasn't. So all that information that guy's dug up throughout the years. Did you ever look at that? Did you ever study any of that information? You understand how to test soil? Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC. Why do you keep bringing this guy on? Why do you keep bringing on people who don't know what they're talking about? Because he obviously doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just making stuff up on the fly. It's like bringing in somebody who's never studied. It's like bringing in a literature professor to talk about calculus. It's just so sick. It's not his fault. It's their fault too for always looking at him. Oh, he should know. He's an astronomer. Everyone loves him. Yeah, everyone. He's a fun guy to listen to. He's a fun guy when it comes to astronomy. But when it comes to this subject, he has no idea. He has no clue. He's completely clueless. He doesn't know what he's talking about. There's been a cover up since at least 1947. There's been a cover up. The government, the United States government, and other governments of the world, unquestionably, there's no question about this. If you were to do the research, anybody out there, the research is there. If you were to do the research, you would know that they're trying to pull the wool over your eyes. Somebody within the government, there's a faction within the government that's pulling the wool over everyone's eyes in our government, the United States government, and other governments of the world. There's no question about this. There's no doubt. There's no doubt that there are extraterrestrials here. There's no question. I've seen one of the crafts with my own two eyeballs. There wasn't a glitch in my eyeballs, and there was another person there who saw it when it happened. So I know for a fact. That these things are that there's something here. There's no question about it. And I know people like Travis Walton, they're not lying. Okay? People like Travis Walton, he told me the truth. People like Calvin Parker, right? He told the truth. Him and Charles Hickson in 1973. Pascagoula, Mississippi. Those two guys, they told the truth. They were telling the truth. Something abducted them while they were sitting on a river fishing. Took them in a spaceship and looked at them, examined them, then set them back out. Basically, they weren't lying. It really happened. The government knows. If they don't know, then we're in big trouble. Let's put it that way. If they don't know what's going on, then they're just inept. It's like we have the Three Stooges, right? If they don't know, they're inept. People need to start waking up. The mainstream media needs to start waking up. This is just so frustrating year in and year out. This report, it's garbage. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's a step in the right direction." They're acknowledging. I don't care. Just come out with all of it already. Stop insulting our intelligence. Stop treating people like kids. Articles like this, the mainstream media, get your head out of your ass already. Wake up. Do something. Do something positive when it comes to this subject already. Instead of this nonsense. This is garbage. This article in U.S. News and World Report, garbage.